Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the meeting of the Corporate Policy and Finance Committee on Wednesday, the 9th of March. First of all, I'd like to, our chair has been delayed and should come in. I will hand over to him when he is into the meeting. I think he's been delayed in traffic. We have two apologies tonight.
Yeah. So we've got apologies from Councillor Priggins, who's attending virtually, and apologies from Councillor Hall, and I'm assuming Councillor Turnbull as well.
Right, thank you. Right, first, can I ask the councillors to make a declaration of interest? Do you have any disposable pecuniary and or personal interests in relation to any items on this agenda? Okay. Secondly, I don't think there's any chairman's urgent items.
No, none to bring forward, Chair.
Thank you.
Or Deputy Chair.
Any public questions in accordance with Standing Order 22?
None received.
Thank you. If I may bring your attention to the minutes on pages 1 to 4 of this agenda. Does anyone have any comments or suggested changes to the minutes? No. Can I ask the people present if they could raise their hands?
I wasn't present at the meeting, but
thank you. Is Melanie a voting member here?
No, she's not. So it's just
Melanie, you don't have to raise. You're not a voting member. Okay. So the minute, can we take the minutes as agreed?
Yep.
And shall I sign them, or shall we ask Councillor Drake to sign them?
I'm not sure it really matters, to be honest. If you'll have to sign them, we can sign them now. I can make them, John.
Okay. May I ask if there are any officers' reports tonight?
None to bring forward, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to the substantive items on the agenda, 7.1, the forward plan and resolution tracker. You will find that on pages 13 to 18 of your agenda. Does anyone have any comments or queries about either the forward planner or the resolution tracker? First of all, I'd like to commend officers in the resolution tracker. It looks as though the work, pretty much everything's complete. Everything's been done, so well done. Anything on the forward planner? I think this is pretty much what we've been seeing. It's in line with what we've been seeing.
Yeah, so
in the last few meetings.
And the only thing to say from me really is that at the next meeting it will be the year-end outturn papers from me that you'll see before it goes on to council at the end of the month.
Good, good. I'm looking forward to that. Well, we'll come to it. Next agenda item 7.2, citizens' advice.
Vote on that first.
Oh, sorry, we'll vote on that. Power plan resolution tracker. If we could vote on that, they have them noted. Right. That's unanimous. Agenda item 7.2. Again, we've been asked to note this report. Does anyone have any comments or queries on the analysis provided by citizens' advice?
I've only got one comment, which was somewhat of a surprise from what we're here. Just the age profile of the people using it was younger than is. It's interesting to see how younger folk, as in 49s and below. I mean, the top 3 users are people in that category. I just found that interesting. So it's my point being, it's useful to get that data. It's something I didn't know, so I'm glad they put that information out to us.
Yeah, there were some interesting things in this report. Good evening, Councillor Drake. I'll let you get yourself sorted, then I'll hand the meeting over to you.
Let me say my humble apologies. I have absolutely no excuse whatsoever, and I've just spent the last 5 minutes trying to think of one.
Honesty.
I've just had a senior vote.
It's happened to us all.
Think.
It's not about senior vote, but it happens all.
As soon as I saw the hand down on the shoulder, oh, I know where I should be. How embarrassing.
Yeah. Right. We'll finish agenda item 7.2
You're doing well then.
And then I will hand over to Councillor Green for the rest of the agenda. So on agenda item 7.2, if I could ask you to indicate whether you are happy to note the report. Thank you. I will hand over, and Councillor Drake, it's agenda item 7.3, which is the review of service level agreements.
So page 23.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard, for chairing the meeting in my unexplained absence. Okay, this is the report on the service level agreements. There are 5 service level agreements for us to consider. I had a number of questions which I've previously raised with the finance officer. Can we take them one by one? The Harpenden Lions Club. Any comments or questions on that?
I've got a question about this, but it will run into the others, and it's just the fact that obviously the Lions Club and then the Rotary, it says that they've organised a particular event. I'm well aware that, doing it for a long time. I was just interested that the Batford Springs volunteers say what they're spending it on with that Appendix C, which was useful. I'm certainly not suggesting that we get any work out of volunteers to say that, but do we? Was that them just volunteering that, or should we get? Do we know exactly what the £700 for the Lions and the Rotary Club goes for? In the sense, it's not clarify. It's not it's clearly a donation. It's a grant from us, but it's not a donation to the charity. It's presumably for set up, and because they're volunteers, it's for physical fencing. I don't know. I don't know whether going forward, I'm not asking this to be changed, that we could either say, I'm talking about 2 or 3 bullet points about what it pays for, and in all of them. And that's also going to apply to the King's Pantry for the £1,000. But there's no problem at all with the amount we support and them getting.
That's fine.
I think on the King's Pantry, I think I know. I think they're buying basic foodstuffs with it. So it goes towards basic, the kitty.
So it's part of the general donation, obviously. Okay, that's also fine. Yeah.
So, since we're going through the in general, is there any specific comment?
I would just like to say I think we're very lucky in Harpenden having these organisations and people who are prepared to volunteer their time. And I think the town council is right to support them. I mean, I see some of their work in more detail than others, particularly I've seen closely what the Batford Springs volunteers do and what the King's Pantry do, and it's just outstanding. We're very, very lucky to have them with it.
One of the points I had on these was that we say that we are asking the various bodies to spend there's a certain element on the town. The Lions should make an appropriate donation to the town mayor's charities using the net proceeds of the event. That's slightly changed from the wording. Following my point.
Yeah, from the draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just wondering, an appropriate donation might be 10p or a significant amount of money. I'm not suggesting we actually write amounts into the agreements, but is there any way we know there's at least a reasonable sum, and maybe that could be reported?
Thank you, Chair. So in the past, once all of the income and expenditure has gone through and the donation is finalised, that's normally reported in the information bulletin for everyone to see.
Yeah. Okay. The BSV, you confirm they're not actually a registered charity, are they?
Not to my knowledge, Chair, no.
Because obviously they have a significant surplus here, which obviously they kindly offered to reduce the amount required from us, and I agree with Councillor Maynard that what they do there is absolutely excellent. But they have quite a significant surplus there. Normally charities are expected to spend their surpluses, but if they're not registered, then I don't think that's the case in point. Okay.
If I could just add, Chair, that I think it's the reason the surplus has grown over the years is because they've been unable to do the same level of project work that they normally would do over COVID. So now I think COVID restrictions are easing. The intention is that they'll be able to get out and do the similar level of project work that they were doing before, so that balance should reduce over the coming years.
All right.
Sorry.
Councillor Maynard.
I think also with charities, they can build up reserves, but the reserves have to be allocated to specific. So each kind of reserve, you have to say what that's going to be spent on.
Yeah.
And by law, it must be spent on that. You cannot reserve that.
Exactly. That's why I was saying if they have a specific surplus, there has to be a control over it. I agree. Yeah. And on the King's Pantry food bank, I had one question which I hope never applies, which is termination. King's Pantry food bank fails to meet its objectives in part or in full. I wasn't sure how we were going to measure whether it met its objectives in part or in full.
Thank you, Chair. So the objectives are written that way for a reason, and that is where we haven't got any reliable benchmarking data to know what the targets that we should be setting them. So as the arrangement continues over the years and we've got more information and we can see the numbers of people of helping and the age groups and things like that, then we can use that to create a benchmark. But it would be unfair at the minute to put any strong targets on them when we haven't got the information to see how many people we're likely to be able to help, or they're likely to help.
Yes, that is fair enough. Okay, are there any other questions on the service level agreements for these 5 worthy causes? No? Okay, in that case, can we agree the recommendation on page 23? The committee is asked to note the report and to approve the renewal of the 5 SLAs. Sorry, Councillor Priggen, did you want to say something?
No, I raised my hand and then I realised I'm not allowed to vote. I'm not allowed to vote. That's it.
No, you are allowed to speak, so
That's very kind. That's very kind.
no problem. Okay. All right. Item 7.4, budgetary control. Finance officer.
Thank you, Chair. So the report reflects the financial position up until the end of January. So if I can draw your attention to Appendix A on page 50, that shows that we're currently showing a favourable variance of nearly £48,000, which is a very similar position to what we were in November. That I presented at the January meeting. Again, as I said, then the main reason for the variance is the vacant post that we had in the Green Spaces team that's all been previously discussed. If I can just add as well, as we move closer to year end and there's less chances of any unknown surprises, that the risk of that reduces. It was nice to receive the funds and information for Liddick Car Park. So I've got that information now up until the end of December, so I can make a more realistic forecast. So I'll throw, bear with me, I'll throw a lot of numbers at you now. So the target for this year is 52,000. Up until the end of December, we've achieved 35. So forecasting that forward, you'd like to think we'd achieve about 45,000 by the end of the year. And the budget that we agreed last time for the Liddick Car Park for financial year 22-23 was 45,000. So it's we know we're going to be short this year, but the budget's in about the right place for next year.
Councillor.
I'm only going to say, all things considered, I think that's a pretty good outturn actually for the year.
I'd agree. Absolutely.
Why, I mean, I'm being told repeatedly that the St Albans car parks are significantly down. This is 70%. Why is Lydica doing so well?
It's
Any idea?
I suppose the 52,000, I suppose, has been reduced from the previous pre-COVID target of 70,000. So
So it's 50% of
the pre-COVID, yes.
So you budgeted sensible, in other words.
I don't think that we're doing better than council car parks. I think it's that
Just better budgeting.
we just put a lower budget in. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think there's any reason to believe that it's more popular. No.
Yeah, because it just seems odd. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any other questions on the outturn? No? Okay.
So I'm Scott.
Sorry.
If let's say if we're £50,000 better off than we thought, what happens to that money?
So that will be up for debate, if you like. So if there are specific projects that everyone feels are worthwhile, then we can put an earmarked reserve together, and as part of the June meeting, there'll be a review done of those earmarked reserves. Anything else will be moved into our general reserve, which hasn't got a specific purpose other than to help us if something happens and we need to. So it's there as a sale face.
Because we had to pay. We as part of the budget last time. In addition, there was 74,000 agreed. We had to dip into our
So
rainy day money, didn't we? By 74,000. So I suppose if we take that 50,000 and put it back, then we didn't have to dip in as much. Yeah.
So it'll be pretty much balanced out. Yeah.
Councillor Maynard.
We have a policy of keeping about 8 months operating costs and reserves. Yeah. How are they standing at the moment?
I think as at the beginning of the year, it was about 6.5 months. I think we've got.
Number was about 550, if I remember rightly.
Our precept is, because I presume we measure it against the precept.
Yeah.
So our precept was about 1.2. That implied about 5 and something months.
Okay, so this should be put in with, not used for anything else, because it's councils who don't do that, something like COVID hits, and then they're in trouble. You have to keep.
I think that's a fair point, and one obviously will debate in June when we've seen the final outcome.
Yeah.
That we do need to ensure there are. We've learned, I think, over the last couple of years that uncertainty has become a way of life. So
Yes.
Well, you know.
Can't imagine inflation the next year is going to help us.
that's a very good example of uncertainty.
Well, we're going to sit in a vehicle.
Inflation is much of a, certainly when we did the budget, for example, for the coming year, setting the precept, we did not envisage inflation at the rate it's currently running at.
What's it running at now?
I think CPI is about 4.9%.
Yes, estimates are anywhere between 8.5% and 10%.
Yeah.
This year. That's all they fed in all of the Russian sanctions.
Yeah, yeah. And that's double.
I saw, the latest ones I saw was 20%. That was about quicker. Go the old surprise.
Okay, well, it's quite well worth it. We might have a slightly better idea come June. So let's see where we are. Oh, okay, now I forgot now. Did we approve that? No, we need to vote, don't we, to approve to accept the recommendations of the report at 2.1.
Yeah.
All right. Item 7.5.
Arkenden Swimming Club.
Thank you, Chair. So this report he represents a community grant application from the Harpenden Swimming Club for the purchase of 2 new laptops that cost in total £917.98. Take any question?
Well, I'm very supportive of this. I just wondered, do we have like a pot of money? I don't know, you know, I just didn't know that an organisation could just approach us for money, as it were.
Yes, yeah, we've got an annual budget for grants, and yeah, it's built into a base for these sort of applications.
2,000 is the max, really.
And did we put in 8,000 as double previous year?
Yes.
Took them at 5 hours.
Sorry,
I was about to say we had recently increased the amount. You said what I was going to say.
You was just diving in quickly. Yes, this is good. I did have a question on the numbers, which I know has been addressed, which said I thought that they were slightly overstating the number of Harpenden residents that would benefit, because it was based upon 200 members plus 300 per meet, and the idea it would be a different 300 per meet I found rather unlikely. However,
That's a lot of people in the pool.
I think it's probably less than that, but I still think it's an extremely worthwhile community activity to support. Are there any other?
Mine's another actually a process one. It's not about this, which is, again, probably links to inflation. It's just the fact, I mean, I do laugh a bit that we've got decimal points in there. I know that's to show what it is, but it just seems to me that if this is presumably this application made fairly recently, but some times moved on, we approve it tonight, you go back and tell them tomorrow you can have the money, and they say it's £960 now. We don't want to be saying, oh no, you can't have it. I just wondered, from your perspective, what you've seen before, is it, I don't know exactly what this was, but to approve a number no more than £1,000 for 2 laptops, and with a statement that they show us the invoice, and if it's 917, it's, that's only what they asked for. Just what's your view on that?
It sounds fair, yeah. I think it would be silly if they came back and said it's gone up by.
Yes.
I just bet that we wouldn't then have approved it, so we've approved a number that, and
I would approve the number. If there's 20 quid out, they can have a whip round.
Well, I'm not trying to think of over the years I've seen many applications. I'm trying to think. You don't very often actually see one that's for a sort of an actual number like that. It usually is for around, and yes, it usually would expect it. Usually they are something like 1,000 to pay for. You don't very often see one that's actually a specific price, because you're quite right, you can change between tonight and tomorrow morning.
Probably will do.
Probably will.
Probably will. I think that's the point. It's fair.
I think it's sensible.
Yeah.
Because we don't really want to have it covered back again, do we?
But not for what could be potentially 2 pence.
Just remember that there's something for this, so it's going to change.
They can get some goggles as well on the side.
Okay, are any other points on the swimming?
No.
Okay, so there's that amendment. You agree the recommendation at 2.1? Thank you. Okay, I think that brings us to the conclusion of this extremely lengthy corporate finance meeting.
lengthier than some of the others.
Yeah, exactly. Twice as long for us.
I did tell the finance officer when he rang me that I don't doubt I will be the butt of a number of jokes,
Yes.
which is perfectly fair. Thank you. I bring the meeting to a close at 8 o'clock.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Bye, Melanie.
It's in a very green room there. That's got strong green.
The number of meetings that have been